Hello and welcome to This Week in African Tech. This series is meant to be a witty and irreverent look at the African tech ecosystem. Now, if this is something that is interesting to you, let's go. Our first segment is Rapid Fire, where we quickly talk about who's raising money, who's making money, and who is in trouble. South African venture capital firm 4DI has raised $9.4 million to invest in South African tech startups. Now, this would be their third fund, having invested in companies like Lumka that uses hardware, a network of agents and software to provide insurance for people in slums and informal settlements. They've also invested in which provides protection for shareholders. The thing I like about this story is the head of the venture capital firm's surname is Stanford. Now, this is a really good name to have in this industry. If you know, you know.
You get a little bag and take it to the store.
Second, the Maghreb region has just inaugurated its angel investor network. Now, the Maghreb region is just a fancy name for Northern Africa, minus Egypt, but plus Mauritania. Soccer Watch, the company that connects fast consumer marketing goods companies with tabletop and small retailers using SMS and USSD, has just raised 2.5 million to expand into Rwanda and then to our very special country that stays asking influencers to register $20, Uganda. Kobo 360, the Nigerian tech startup firm, has just raised 30 million. A round that was led by Goldman Sachs to support its end-to-end platform for haulage for cargo owners and trucks across Africa. Nigerian businessman Obinwani Okeke, who in 2016 was listed as one of the Forbes 30 under 30, has just been arrested by the FBI for a phishing scam and fraud using the email of the CFO of Unitrack company. Defrauded the company of $12 million. Now, before I make any comment on that, I'd like to point out that Nigeria has over 92 internet users online. And also, if anything can be said about Nigeria versus the rest of Africa wars on Twitter, my comment here is simple. I have no comment.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Next up is a segment what we call the meteor news. Now, remember last week when I showed you that image of startups in Africa that had raised $1 million within 2019, ones that had publicly disclosed it? Well, bring you another picture. Now, this picture tells the story of the women in the tech ecosystem in Africa that have raised over $5 million. This is just in the whole entirety of the life of the African tech ecosystem. You will find, as I show you this picture, that there are 8 women in that list. Now, let me put it this way. I think that if just by looking at this picture, you would be tempted to think that part of the criteria for getting funded, blonde hair and blue eyes might be part of the criteria. Next, Chinese company that owns the Techno brand, which is the name of a popular musician in Nigeria, and also the name of an equally popular low-end phone brand, has invested with a Kenyan VC firm called Wapi to pull their resources together to invest in ad tech, e-commerce, and logistics. Based on just how China has shown that they can behave when African governments or emerging market governments owe them money, and the very loan shark ways they act, example would be that they took over the ports of Zambia and Sri Lanka when these governments were unable to pay their debts. I'm a little nervous. And we don't know if it's a wider trend. We don't know if it's a wider trend or it's just a one-off blip. I always like the money comes into the African tech startup ecosystem. I worry. I do. This week I had previously recorded the story of Jumia and its alleged fraud case. But on my flight back from Berlin to Ghana, the news seems to have blown up and new data has been added, so I'm re-recording it. Fake African tech e-commerce unicorn, Jumia. Now, if you don't know what a unicorn is, it's a company that is valued over $1 billion. This company, which IPO'd at the New York Stock Exchange earlier this year, even though it has its headquarters in Berlin, Germany, and has its development house in Portugal, has heavily relied on the tagline, Africa's first unicorn, to draw investors and investment to it. Now, when it IPO'd, the Citron research came up with evidence showing that Jumia claims and numbers were fraudulent. Now, Jumia vehemently denied this, but two things happened after Citron's research came out. Jumia's share price steadily dropped. It's currently at 12.73 versus the 14.50 that it IPO'd at. There's also currently a class action suit going on from the investors in Jumia. Now, Jumia has vehemently denied all this, only for us to find out this week. And for Jumia itself to accept that there has been over 18 million US dollars in fraud perpetuated in its system, and calling it improper orders. Now, this is how I suppose the fraud works. Multiple orders are created in the system and then cancelled, so that the sales numbers, it shows and skews more numbers than it's normal. Now, you can hear the details of this from the horse's own mouth.
Sasha, this first came up back in May. Andrew Left of Citron accused Jumia of being a fraud and pointed out this specific issue. At the time, you said, at least according to Market Watch, we completely stand by our prospectus. We will not be distracted by those who seek to create doubt to profit at our expense and that of our long-term stakeholders. Now you're saying he's right. Why did you stand by the prospectus in the first place?
No, I didn't say that.
The thing that truly gets me about this Jumia story is that Jumia has been quick to point fingers at its Nigeria operations for the issues of fraud. Because, I mean, it's really convenient to point fingers at a country that already has a fraud reputation problem, and it's easy to say, oh, it's not a company-wide sanctioned behavior, it is just a group of people within the Nigeria organization that have done it. Because do I believe that this is not company sanctioned, and I don't know, but here's what I do know: that Jumia has really done a disservice to the Africa tech ecosystem, because they built up their brand as Africa's first unicorn. They have essentially screwed it up for other hardworking, well-meaning founders across the Africa tech ecosystem that might be looking to build their companies, expand their companies, IPO on the London Stock Exchange, IPO on the New York Stock Exchange without the extra scrutiny. Well done to Jumia and its work in actually damaging the Africa tech ecosystem. I applaud you. So that ends the media part of the news segment in Africa. I leave you this week with this amazing video. I look forward to meeting you again next week.
Attention, I'm not going to YouTube.